really thought I understood and accepted the idea of non-dualism. First of all, y'all know what I mean by non-dualism. Yeah. There's no exception or opposite to what I'm saying here. Every single word in the Course in Miracles is guaranteed to be true. There are absolutely no exceptions to it. Now, this world is a world of dualism because, have you noticed, everything here seems to have an opposite. But if we take that back to its core, what do split minds mean? It means there's more than one way to do something. How many of you, when I have a split mind, it's because what I think doesn't match up with what I always do. Or what I think isn't always consistent. Sometimes I think in a very godly way, and sometimes I think in a very ungodly way. Does that ever happen to you? I run into that problem sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And so, because of that, you see how it falls that everything is back to thought. This world tends to reflect that. So when you look at, let's take politicians, okay? They tell you this, again, then they get in office and somehow it doesn't seem that that's the way it worked out. Or the next thing you know, they're going to jail for some scandal or something other than what they were to be about. And so that is what we mean by dualism, where everything has an opposite. How can this world is so incredibly beautiful and tragic at the same time? That is dualism. Is that helpful, what I'm saying? Just to pave the way, and we'll continue. So, the Course's principles of non-dualism are really starting to hit home with me, but it's really starting to hit home in a way that shows me, like every year when I do the Course, you know, it doesn't get boring. It's like, it reads anew, it reads more deeply. I pick up on things that I thought I read it and I kind of understood it, but oh my God, really? It's like that, you know, as I do it every year. So, on a relative scale, what I found out was that I was only really given lip service to the no exception principles in the Course, and as a result, I started finding out that really what I was doing is dragging out the Course instead of using the Course to save time, which is one of its fundamental principles. Now, I don't know if you know, but if I were to point to this guy over here, Sri Yukteswar, on the wall, he was Paramahansa Yogananda's mentor. But the reason I want to bring him up now is that he was also a wonderful astrologer. And he has written treatises on astrology that talk about the evolutionary cycles of our cosmos. And he talks about the movement and things like solar years. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. When you consider all of the different planes and evolutionary levels that we are cycling through, this time here on Earth in this lifetime may simply be, if you want an analogy, let's say that this is elementary school. And then when you pass away, when you die, you'll just be going to a different school. This is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. This is the course that will get to correcting all of the errors in our thinking and to our awakening. It's not over just on one plane. So going back to Yukteswar, no, here's a better way. Have you ever heard Jesus say in A Course in Miracles, if you would do this, you could save 1,000 years? Yep. What, 1,000 years? What's he talking about? Well, when you look at these cycles that Yukteswar is looked to for the accuracy of it, There's one cycle that includes something like 250,000 years. There's another cycle of 500,000 years, as we would say it in Earth years. So this thing, through time, is an incredibly enormous amount of time. So continue to move through it, or let me show you some wormholes. Do you know what I mean, wormholes? In outer space, where this planet may be 500 light years away. But you can find a wormhole that will collapse at time, and you can get there in 5 months instead of 500 years. Time is not real. So one of the things you can do when you learn how to manage it is collapse time. So that's why Jesus is saying, if you learn that forms all are reducible to certain content, then I don't have to if you want to learn one lesson at a time, fine. If you want to learn one example at a time, fine. But it's going to take you 50 million years or whatever, and we're on these solar cycles. But there's a more excellent way. There's nothing wrong with taking time, but it seems like such a waste if there's a better way. So one of the things that this book is going to do is to, if you follow its methods, you'll start to collapse the time that's involved in Yukteswar's solar cycles. I didn't mean to go over there that far.
I like it.
Huh?
I accept it.
You got it? Oh,
Yep.
That's good
So,
though, right?
sounds good.
Okay. So,
I got it written down.
I found out that when I get the real meaning this year or last year or whenever this occurred, in comparison, I thought I loved the Course in Miracles and that, but I was really kind of dragging things out. So anyhow, I've still not mastered non-dualism. As a matter of fact, other than a growing willingness to see and welcome a totally new idea, an idea that's so incredible it's 180 degrees from everything I learned before. I don't think the Course expects me to be a master of this absolutely no idea exception thing. But after many years of study, I'm starting to get it. I'm really starting to understand that A Course in Miracles' goals of absolutely no exceptions to its teachings are really the only way to the perfect unity and oneness that will lead us to our awakening and our awareness of who we truly are. Is 80% perfect? Okay, 95.6. Now look, 99.998.
No.
So how can you be a perfect child of God? If you are a perfect child of God and you try and be perfect at 99.9998, then you're bringing truth into an illusion and therefore making the truth an illusion. You can't bring the truth into the illusion and try and balance it with what you want. The truth was not made by you and is not under your control. I'm sorry. I don't mean to hurt your feelings. I don't mean to hurt my feelings. But reality is going to be what God says it is. Because I'm a thought of God. I am not Jim. And God says, I'm sorry. But that's the fact. You had a comment there, Dan?
Just a reminder of what the lesson for today is. I loose the world from all I thought it was.
What's that number? Do you know offhand?
I don't know numbers well enough. 132.
132. No.
I loose the world from all I thought.
132. Right.
No.
Let go of everything you think you know, because it's not right.
Tell me that thing of everything you think, because that can you say that one again?
Yeah, this is my favorite.
I know.
What we're doing is we're thinking within the cloud of complexity with which you think you think.
Which is really not even thinking.
It's a cloud,
Yeah.
and we think it's complex. And we think that's where we have to think.
Lesson 132. We did it today. We'll do it again
Although I
tomorrow.
can't do the practice yet, I'm
Very
really
deep.
starting to wrap my mind around the idea that the Course means, of what the Course means when it presents itself as a monistic teaching. A teaching with absolutely no exceptions. I'm starting to seriously entertain the vision of what things will be like when the Holy Spirit completes his mission or his work of moving our perceptions from wrong-mindedness to right-mindedness. So let's start with reading some of the things that the Course says about what its ultimate goal is. What's the real world? Did we talk about that yesterday in the groups? The real world is the highest that perception can go. So, when in the dream, we start acting like everyone is perfect, and everyone in the dream lets the Holy Spirit make all their decisions, do you see how, because we will all be under the influence of the same teacher, all of our goals will be joined and unified? Mm-hmm. All of our actions will be directed by a central source. That central source is all love, is total power, knows everything, and is everywhere at once. Mm-hmm. What would the world look like?
Beautiful.
And that's what we're going to talk about here. Thank you, Barney. Okay? This is from chapter 17, The Forgiven World. Who's our next reader? It wasn't me, was it?
I think you read last, so maybe.
Okay. Dan, do you know where we are?
I will in about 2 seconds.
Okay.
I've removed my location. Okay, so I think the first part.
Under readings.
Yeah. The forgiven world. Can you imagine how beautiful those you figure will look? Oh, wait. Can you imagine how beautiful those you forgive will look to you?
Figure.
In no fantasy have you ever seen anything so lovely. Nothing you see here, sleeping or waking, comes near to such loveliness. And nothing will you value like unto this, nor hold so dear. Nothing that you remember that made your heart sing with joy has ever brought you even a little part of the happiness this sight will bring you. For you will see the Son of God. You will behold the beauty the Holy Spirit loves to look upon, in which he thanks the Father for. He was created to see this for you, until you learn to see it for yourself, and all his teachings leads to seeing it and give thanks with him. And all his teachings.
Deb, you got the place there?
Yeah. This loveliness is not a fantasy. It is the real world, bright and clean and new, with everything sparkling under the open sun. Nothing is hidden here, for everything has been forgiven, and there are no fantasies to hide the truth. The bridge between the world and this is so little and so easy to cross that you could not believe it is the meeting place of worlds so different. Yet this little bridge is the strongest thing that touches on this world at all. This little step, so small it has escaped your notice, is a stride through time into eternity, beyond all ugliness into beauty that will enchant you, and will never cease to cause you wonderment at its perfection.
This step, the smallest ever taken, is still the greatest accomplishment of all in God's plan of atonement. All else is learned, but this is given, complete and wholly perfect. No one but him who planned salvation can complete it thus. The real world in its loveliness you learn to reach. Fantasies are all undone, and no one and nothing remain still, bound by them, and by your forgiveness you are free to see. Yet what you see is only what you made, with the blessing of your forgiveness on it. And with this final blessing of God's Son upon himself, the real perfection, born of the new perspective he has learned, has served its purpose.
So, God turned the mess we made into a classroom. The forgiven world is what we will have learned to see when we let the Holy Spirit transform the world. Notice the Holy Spirit didn't destroy the mess. He's going to change it from a dream of misery and pain to the happy dream. Have any of you ever read about the happy dream in this book? The happy dream, the forgiven world, the atonement, the real world, they're basically synonyms. This is as high as learning can go. This is as high as perception. Now, God doesn't learn, and the Son of God in reality doesn't learn. Why doesn't the Son of God in reality learn?
He doesn't have,
He remembers.
He remembers.
he doesn't have to.
Why?
Because it's already been made.
There's nothing to learn. Already know. Don't you see? When you know, there's nothing to learn. Okay? Learning comes from a perceived need. Like there's something else that I need. I need to learn how to do this. I need to learn. Have you ever heard anybody say, every single question you've ever had, you already know the answer to? But there are obstacles that have been created that if removed, you'll find out, oh God, I already knew that. My higher self knows everything. Why does my higher self know everything?
Because it's
Starts with an omni. Omniscient.
omniscient.
Okay. No, doesn't that mean know everything? All right. So, when the Holy Spirit brings us to the forgiven world, when the Holy Spirit leads us to the real world, the state of atonement, our dreaming will be so like reality, that God can take the final step in our gentle awakening. And we'll understand at last that this whole sojourn into this crazy world of perception never really happened in the first place. It was just a dream. It was just an illusion. It was just the Wizard of Oz kind of experience. So, here's the deal. To me, here's the singular bottom line teaching of A Course in Miracles that will get us there. In order for us to get to the forgiven world, there can be absolutely no exceptions to the truth of love. God is total love, and his creations are total love. Does that make sense?